Hey, it's Tony here, and welcome to Better Architects. Today, we're going to take a look at the top 5 software that I think every architect must know. Now, can you still do your job without all 5? Yeah, you can, but I think these are the best in my opinion. But before getting into that, I want to come at it from a perspective that these top 5 softwares work together to accomplish a common goal. And that goal is to produce deliverables for the client. These deliverables are presentation packages or competition packages, technical drawings for SD, DD, or CD. This is the bread and butter of any architecture firm. So the top 5 programs will be the top program in each category that will help you produce these packages. So let's get into it. First, we start with the software that your office should revolve around. And for me, that is Revit. This is the software that will help you generate plans, sections, elevations, details, full sets from competition all the way down to the wrapping up of the project in the CA phase. You simply cannot have an architecture firm without a software that will help you create all the necessary drawings to build a building. Except if you're still doing it by hand. In that case, kudos to you. Now, many of you may disagree if you are more familiar with other BIM software, such as Vectorworks for Mac, or even just AutoCAD. Heck, SketchUp Pro also has the ability to create 2D documentations from the 3D models. Some of you may not even need the BIM aspects of these software, and in that case, the 2D AutoCAD program just may be what your company needs. However, if I were to start my own company right now, I would use Revit as my main bread and butter. No, this video is not sponsored by Autodesk because I'm just a small channel and Autodesk doesn't even notice me. I mean, why would they notice us? I don't have that many subscribers. I don't have that many views. Which is why you should like and subscribe to this channel, because one of my plans for the future is to be able to get the attention of the larger companies and see if they can help us collaborate and do some giveaways for you guys, because I know some of these licenses can be extremely expensive. So as I was saying, if I was going to start my own company, I would start it with Revit. And this is because the market is still mainly dominated by PC users, and all the engineering firms that I've worked with all have Revit. It makes collaboration a breeze if done on BIM 360. Okay, maybe not all engineering companies. Some of the smaller companies are still working in CAD. Now, honorable mention in this category goes to SketchUp for smaller projects and if you work solo. SketchUp, while it seems pretty simple, it's actually a pretty powerful tool. And with the ability to create 2D drawings, you don't necessarily need the complexity of CAD, but you also get a modeler, and you could get some rendering plugins, which we'll talk about later, and produce a whole set of documentation within SketchUp itself. So that's fantastic, and it's great value. The only thing with SketchUp is that it's for single users, and there isn't that much of a collaboration part when it comes down to it. This next category is more focused on modeling. This happens more during the earlier phases, such as the competition phases or the SD phases, where you're spending more time creating quick design iterations. Rhino would be the top software for this spot. Now, part of the popularity for this software is the utilization of this software during school. When I was still at City College, this was our modeling program recommended by our professors, who also use this at their own firms. It was also pretty hard to use, and the interface is pretty similar to CAD, where you have the command bar, you gotta tap in your commands and then press space to enter. While Revit and SketchUp, and yes, even AutoCAD can do 3D modeling, no software can do curves or blob-like shapes like Rhino. On top of Rhino, there are plugins that help to make the model smart and interactive, such as Grasshopper or MonkeyScript, and etc., that allows you to add parametric customization. Now, that's just a fancy way of saying that you can make adjustments to your model by changing parameter values without having to remodel everything. Revit as a whole is entirely based on parameters, but however, that kind of modeling is a little bit too strict for us to have this kind of free flow thinking kind of thing. As a quick analogy, say if you want to create a sculpture, the first thing you would do is take out a pen and paper and start sketching up iterations of the design, because you don't want to start modeling and then start deciding that you don't like it. And then by that time your clay is drying and then you have to start over. No, what you want to do is you want to create several iterations on paper with your pen or pencil just so that you can get the kind of idea that you want and seeing it on paper before you build. This is pretty much what Rhino does, is you can go through quick iterations of your modeling before putting more effort onto detailing it. Also, I find myself when modeling in Revit, trying to do conceptual design, the process is very clunky, the tools are very limited, it is even simpler than SketchUp, and I find myself kind of really being drawn into kind of the more of the precision that Rhino has when it comes to floor types and door types. During the beginning part of your design, you're not really thinking about floor thicknesses or wall thicknesses. Those kind of things can be more of a distraction than a focus. So after modeling, the next category is going to be the renderer. Now, a renderer helps you make a 3D model go from blocky, kind of basic color to near photorealistic images. Now, my top pick for this is not the most photorealistic software, but instead is the simplest to use and creates realistic enough renderings. The most realistic renderer can be a toss-up between V-Ray or Maxwell, but those take a long time to render just one image, and there's a bunch of parameters that you need to master. In fact, you can have your career in architecture solely being a renderer. My top pick is Enscape. Aside from being simpler and easier to use, Enscape also works for Revit, SketchUp, Rhino, and all these other softwares. Enscape allows you to use the lights already in your Revit projects, so no additional need to add invisible lights, and general renderings can look a bit clay-like if you don't have good materials established. But the amount of time that you save with a good enough render will increase the bottom line of your company. I'm sure most of you have heard the 80-20 rule, right? That is 80% of the work is done in 20% of the time. Well, Enscape gets you 80% of the rendering quality at only 20% of the time. To get the rest of the 20% back, you need to spend another 80% of your time to get it close to photorealistic renderings. Even then, softwares like V-Ray or Maxwell can't get you to 100%. The last 5 to 10%, you're gonna have to take it to Photoshop anyways to get it up to the marketing quality that your client expects. Now that leads me to the next software, and that is not Photoshop, but however, it lands in the similar families that Photoshop resides in. And that is the presentation software. For me, it used to be InDesign, and I know many firms still use it, but because it's so expensive now, at $80+ a month, for all the softwares, where most you don't even need. So for this reason, it's no longer the top software I would recommend. Instead, the top spot goes to Affinity Publisher. It's InDesign, but better and much cheaper. For less than the price of 1 month's subscription, you can own Affinity forever. That's $50 at the time of this video, but you can find it on sale around Black Friday for $30. Affinity Publisher lets you edit both vector and raster attachments right in the software itself with something called personas. But you do need to own both the Affinity Photo and Affinity Design series, which are about the same price at $50 a pop. It's so inexpensive that I have 3 copies on 2 computers. That's because there's a version for Windows, a version for Mac, and also a version on the App Store. I bought the Mac version on sale, forgetting that I already owned the App Store version, which I bought many years ago. But on the bright side, I can save my Mac copies for my kids when they want to dabble in design, because the license is forever. Maybe they can give it to their kids and it becomes a family heirloom. Now, the last category is a PDF markup software. The main use of this is to edit PDF files and make markups. Pretty obvious. The previous 4 software help us generate the PDF. And in an office, because we usually work in teams, the team lead usually redlines the progress of the packages before they get sent out to the clients. For this, my go-to is Bluebeam. Now, if you have the Adobe subscription, you probably have Acrobat Pro as part of your Adobe collection. This is a good alternative, but to be honest, I haven't used it all that much. I've used it before and it does similar things. However, Bluebeam is created specifically for architects and engineers. And also it makes the redline process much easier. You can scale check dimensions in the drawing without ever having to open up Revit. Another great tool for Bluebeam is the collaboration aspect of it. You can consolidate red lines in Bluebeam sessions where you're not only able to capture every single red line, but you can quickly check them off by setting the status to complete and making sure that they turn green. These red lines can also be moved from one PDF to a later version of the same PDF, so everything is consolidated in one document. If you're not using Bluebeam, I think it's something that you should really look into, and they do offer a free trial. Sadly, I'm not being sponsored by Bluebeam because I'm a small channel with very little subscribers and very little views. So again, if you want to help me out, please give this video a like and subscribe. So there you go. These are the top 5 must-have softwares that every architect should know. What do you think, guys? Do you agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comments below. Also, what is your office using in each of these categories? I'm curious. Have you tried some of these and found another software to be easier? I would love to hear from you about that as well. With Revit being my office's bread and butter, I think it's important that you guys know the foundations of the software. I have a video hammering home one of the main foundations of building up your Revit skills right there at the corner. And you can check out some of my other videos, such as how much you should be getting paid. That about wraps it up. See you guys in the next video.